Good afternoon, Facebook followers. My name is Tom Loewy. I'm a reporter and columnist with the Register Mail here in Galesburg, Illinois. And today, like you have for the previous 2 days, and like you will for every weekday hereafter until they make me stop, you're driving with Loewy. That's the name of this live video, this live cast. And we take a drive every day. It usually happens between 7 and noon, but today's been busy, which is a good thing. And I've been in planning meetings with editors and fellow reporters, which is also a good thing. I think a lot of people, when we have meetings at work, that's kind of a pain, but planning meetings are not, and I really mean that. They're kind of fun, and they get your creative juices going, and so that's what happened today. To give you a little bit of a sneak peek, the project that we're working on, I think, is really important. I think it's going to be one of the hardest stories that we've told at the Register Mail, and I think hard from a storytelling standpoint. It's also going to be one of the most non-traditional. I think we're looking at some very real ways to break out of kind of like the print video mode. It's about housing and about our neighborhoods and about what happens to our neighborhoods as homes get old and they become rentals and or they become abandoned. And so that's what we're looking at, and we're working really hard. The block that we're on is the 700 block of East Brook Street. That's really what they call a super block. It's the 700s and the 800s, and so we're working really hard on that, and we're trying to tell that story from both like the microcosmic level, like one person who's dealt with owning a home while the homes around him kind of fall down, and then on the neighborhood level, and then at the broader level in terms of the city. And so that's what we were working on this morning. That's why I'm late with driving with Loewy. And so where are we going? We're gonna go get coffee like we always do, and then we're gonna head out to the fair again. We did that on Monday, and we're gonna talk about my column for today, which was a lot of fun. We're gonna talk a little bit about the fair food, which I think about a lot when the fair comes around, and then we're gonna talk about consumable podcasts, and we're gonna just talk about that for a little bit. So I can never remember the name of the place, and obviously when we get there, but that little kind of kiosk out on North Henderson Street is where I'm headed to. And so right now I'm on North Seminary Street, and I'm going to cut over onto, I'm going to cut over towards Henderson. I'm not going to take Loewy because someone I know, she described it as Slowzy. And so while I want to have a nice pace here, we're also going to Knoxville, so I don't want to go too slow on Slowcy. And I never really thought of that, but Loewy is it's a little bit slower moving traffic, and that's okay. But so we're going to avoid Loewy, and we're going to drop down a little bit farther north, or go up a little bit farther north. So the fair, and what I wrote about today. I wrote a column about a first-time judge, and she's there at the fair. Her name's Lacey Niebuhr, and she was really cool. She's a first-time judge, and she's a 30-year-old mother of two who owns her own business called Made with Love. It's a cake, it's a bakery where she does cakes and pies, and that's out in Tahinda. And she was really, really forthcoming, and I walk up on people a lot, kind of out of the blue, out of left field, and she was really receptive to talking about being a judge. She was a judge for the culinary section at the fair, and so I wrote about that. And in the process of writing about that, in strolls Jeremy Carlin, talking about the prizes that he won for his pie. He won first prize for his peach pie, which sounded really good. Had like a coconut almond crumble crust. Like, how awesome does that sound? I don't know. That sounds really good to me. But then also something that I just love saying, he makes an apple pie called Sip of Bourbon Apple Pie. I find that name really kind of cool. I like saying that, Sip of Bourbon Apple Pie, and I'd like to eat it too. But I was really shocked is that now I don't know Jeremy really well, and I think a lot of people remember that the last time I wrote about Jeremy, you know, before what ran today was probably pretty adversarial, but we've remained friends, cordial friends, and I think willing to look critically at one another. I certainly hope he looks critically at me also, but you know, very gracious, and told me all about his passion for baking, and specifically for making pies. And see, I'm not good at basically what I'm good at is typing, you know, writing down what other people say and then typing it, and so I'm not good at like making things in the kitchen and stuff like that. So I'm always interested in people that can do things that I have no facility for, you know. I mean, what do we like to watch? We like to watch individuals who can do things that we really, in the final analysis, you know, we can't play shortstop for the Cubs, you know, as far as some of us went, you know, maybe like playing baseball, you know, we are not Javier Baez, and so, or Addison Russell, even for that matter. And so I think we like watching people who are passionate and who do things that we don't. And so it was really fun talking with Jeremy. And I touched on this on Monday. The fair, in a very real way, I kind of harp on this actually, is that the fair for me is a chance to meet people doing things that I don't do. And so, and that's interesting. You know, they're involved with animals and stuff like that, and I have no idea about that stuff, and I'm interested in it. I'm interested in spending time learning about things that I don't know anything about, and learning it from, you know, not reading it or anything like that, you know, learning it from people who actually do it and love doing it. And so that's why I'm going back to the fair today. I want to come out of there with a feature story about something going on with the fair that hopefully my editors will be able to use, you know, at the weekend. Where are we going? We're going to Java Station and Espresso, I think is the full name of the place. Most people know this as the Java Station, and you're going to get a shot of it here, good shot of it as we come up. I'm either going to get a coffee, or I might get like an Italian ice or a something like that, because I like going here, and the people are really nice. So forgive me, I'm going to order my coffee, but I'm going to keep you with me, and then we're going to head out to the Knox County Fairgrounds. And we discovered this place. The kid I know really likes their, they've got like, I forget what they're called, but they're like slushies, and they're fruit filled, and the kid really likes those. And so after we finish batting practice on Sundays, we do batting practice every Sunday morning for a couple hours, and we'll stop here and get stuff to drink. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So, do you have a iced coffee going?
Yeah, we have a lot of iced coffee.
All right, so I'd like a large iced coffee, and I don't want any sugar and cream in it.
You just want it plain?
Yeah, just plain.
Okay, sounds
I'm a plain guy. Do you have like a hazelnut?
Yeah, I can put hazelnut in it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Do you want whipped cream on it?
No.
No?
I just want to go with the high octane,
okay,
stripped down stuff.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we come over here and to the Java Station and, you know, kind of refuel, but he likes it a lot. So the slushies kind of things here, it's the fruity stuff, the sweet stuff, right? And with whipped cream on it. So, you know, I'm really interested in feedback from people about going to the fair beyond like the carnival. Do you go to the fair, and if you do, what do you look at? What do you want to watch? What do you want to see? I know a big part of all that stuff is like the rides and the shows, but I want to know, do you ever get a chance to like engage the people who, who are raising the bunnies or entered in the culinary stuff or the crafts? There's just so much out there that gets, I think, overlooked with the headlining kind of stuff, which is natural. I really like pie. I like both cake and pie, but I found that as I get older, I really like pie. So I'm going to try to convince Jeremy Carlin to make that sip of bourbon apple pie. Maybe I can buy one off him or donate. Maybe he can make one and I can donate to his favorite local charity or something like that. So bear with us here. We're getting a large iced coffee from the Java station, and then we're headed over to the fair. And what I want to talk about is, in keeping with pies and always wanting to talk about food, I was wondering, do you have a favorite food out at the fair? There's kind of the usual fare, which is like, the corn dogs and stuff like that.
$4.26.
All right, that sounds good. Can I give you my card? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you want a copy of your receipt?
Nope. Save that paper. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna do. Hopefully, I'm gonna head over and have a little bit of a late lunch. I'm looking at always at the pork producer's tent. That's where I think some of the best food is. But when you get into the comment section there, go ahead and tell me about what you eat when you go over to the fair, and do you have a favorite? Do you have a booth that you go back to time and again?
All right, there's
All right,
that.
thank you.
Do you need this?
Hey, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you.
You guys have a good day. All right. So I'm drinking a large hazelnut iced coffee. And it's delicious. It's $4 and I don't know, like 30 cents or something, but worth it because it's delicious. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is something that I got a little bit of feedback on from Brock Peace. He works over. I am a Toyota driver. The last 3 cars that I've owned have been Toyotas, and the last 2 that I've owned have been like Prius or some version of the Prius. Wow. She just went out the entrance. Anyway, so we're headed back south on Henderson. We're going to go south on Henderson, and then we're going to cut over to Grand Avenue, and we're going to head to the fair. And I know that's a long way kind of for some people, but I kind of like it. It's more scenic. I don't really get on 74 unless I have to. I'm not afraid of it or anything, but I just kind of like to take my time sometimes. So we're looking at not quite the lunch hour traffic that you sometimes see on North Henderson nowadays. Man, there are days when it can be treacherous. Galesburg's kind of level of treacherous. It's not Rome, right? It's not the Autobahn, but North Henderson can get a little bit crazy out here for us small fish tank drivers. So I was talking to Brock Peace, and he works in the service station over at Galesburg Toyota, which, by the way, if you're looking for a dealer, and everybody's got their car or whatever, but if you're looking for a car dealer, definitely check them out. What I really can't say enough about is their service department. They've worked with me for years, and it started when I had a Prius, a Toyota Prius that I bought off my brother, so it's not like I got the car there, but they always worked with me. They were always very kind and went out of their way. And Brock is on the staff over there, and I took my car in yesterday for its usual maintenance, its periodic maintenance, and we were talking about driving with Loewy, and he asked me what we were doing, and I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about podcasts in the last half of tomorrow's episode, Wednesday's episode, and he's like, yeah, I listen to podcasts, and I'm always interested in what people listen to. I get a lot of ideas. My journey into podcasting started with two things. There was a show called, and it's still going on strong, it's called Where Did the Road Go? And it's a show based out of New York State, and it deals with a lot of the same kind of, the actual show itself deals with a lot of the same stuff that like Coast to Coast deals with. So listeners might roll their eyes, or what Coast to Coast used to deal with, because I think it's changed a little bit. But so Coast to Coast was a show started up by Art Bell back in the day, and they dealt a lot with like UFOs and Bigfoot and craziness in general. What Where Did the Road Go does is it kind of looks at that from a more academic standpoint. So you don't have callers calling in telling crazy stories about ghosts. What you have are, you know, sociologists and researchers and also more non-traditional researchers getting on and talking about it. And one of the best things that came out of Where Did the Road Go was a guy named Aaron Golias, who's a college professor, and he looks at kind of like the history of pop culture, and he's gone very deeply into like UFOs and what they mean in our culture. Not the question of whether they're aliens from outer space, stuff like that. You know, on a level, I don't care about any of that stuff, and I don't spend a lot of time wondering like if we're visited by people from I don't know where. But that doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is why people believe the things that they believe, and how they express those beliefs, and how those beliefs impact others. Because, you know, and so there's a great podcast called A Saucer Life, and that's by Aaron Golias, and that comes out of a long series of podcasts that he did with Soraya Askath on Where Did the Road Go? And so those are two podcasts that are really worth checking out. But I got into it because I know Soraya a little bit, and he had a movie podcast going for a while, and so in full disclosure, I was a guest on the movie side of things, because I'm very much into cinema, and I'm a little bit older than some of the podcasters out there. Being 50, you know, I grew up with 70s cinema, which for people in their 20s and 30s, I found out is like, you know, that's like classic movies. I think of classic movies from the 40s and the 50s. Well, classic movies for 30-year-olds are like movies with Dustin Hoffman in them, which is just a weird way to feel really old. All right, so where are we going? If you're just joining me, if you're just jumping in, my name's Tom Loewy. You're driving with Loewy, and we are headed out to the Knox County Fair, and we are talking about podcasts. We've talked about my story for today, my column, and we've talked about fair food, and we're talking about podcasts and how I came to podcasting in general, and why I think they're fun. So hopefully you're still driving along with me and enjoying this. So I started off with Where Did the Road Go? And I became a guest on their movie review podcast. And I was in the office talking about that, and Robert Conley said to me, and that was the only thing that I was kind of involved with, and I would even like watch him, listen to them like through YouTube when they were posted to YouTube. I didn't even really know about the podcasting app on my iPhone. Robert Conley was sitting in the office one day, and he's like, you should be watching, or you should be listening to Crime Town. It's a podcast about Providence, Rhode Island, being, you know, kind of the crime capital of the East Coast in some ways, the non-New York. And so I started listening to Crime Town, and man, I mean, Robert Conley changed my life, recommending that to me, because I dug it, and was really into it, and it became the most important podcast that I listened to, because from there I started listening to a lot of other stuff. In Galesburg, you gotta love like the random guy slowly crossing the street. Anyways, that's our little big city feel for the day. You gotta pause for the guy not paying attention to anything crossing the street. At any rate, so I really want to recommend a podcast called Crime Town. It's been out for a while now, but I mean, for listeners in the Midwest, it's a great way to kind of get into that. And you can follow links to Crime Town. Will take you to podcasts like Caught and Wrongful Conviction. And there's a podcast by actually a former Galesburg Register Mail reporter who the last time I knew was with the Illinois Policy Institute, which I'm very dubious of. I think they do a lot of very right-wing reporting, and they're supported. The Illinois Policy Institute is fully funded out of Virginia by a right-wing